You've learned about Iran. You've also learned about the Iran Contra scandal. And you've probably learned about one of the central figures, which was Oliver North, who I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about. Why is he relevant, you ask? In this day and age, when the Iran-Contra scandal happened so long ago, in the 1980s, under Ronald Reagan, who I'm pretty sure knew some of what was going on because he couldn't, in any way, shape, or form, not have known about a big scandal where you're taking weapons, selling them to Iran, or basically selling them also to Noriega, and getting him off on a technicality. And I'm sure the ACLU helping Oliver North was probably in their best interest at the time, and he only got a few months. But this was a central figure who, in my mind, after reading all of the information that has been coming in to me, I feel he is a traitor, a convicted felon who has been on Fox News to sit down and promote more and more warfare. Well, the fact is, in just a few months, in just the last few months, I believe one or two, don't quote me on this, Oliver North has basically sat down and he is now the spokesperson for Activision. Yes, Activision, with their Black Ops game, has basically stated, well, we are using him as an official spokesperson to talk about Black Ops in a way to basically propagandize Call of Duty and make it seem like a 1980s movie flick such as Rambo, where the people slowly got more and more Middle Eastern and basically prepared us for war in any way, shape, or form. Kind of like Predator and all of these other movies that were pushing to make Middle Easterners basically an enemy of the United States. I swear, if I didn't know any better, I would think that the United States seems to have a very good penchant for making people go against the United States citizens and making its own enemies. But if you don't want to believe me, have a look at the trailer itself.
You want to know what the war of the future is going to look like? I don't think the average American grasps how violent war is about to become. I have a nightmare scenario that a hacker breaks into our system that controls satellites, UAVs, even the launch of missiles. Consider what it would be like to have friendly fire from U.S. weapons overhead. There is no longer a defined battle space. The enemy could be anywhere, and it could be anyone. I don't worry about a guy that wants to hijack a plane. I worry about the guy who wants to hijack all the planes.
So let's give you a little bit of a history lesson. If you want to know more, you can actually look at TYT history, and I believe that Professor Rich did a pretty bang up job in talking about it. I'm actually going to go a little bit further into just Oliver North as I was taught, as I've recently been looking into. In regards to Oliver North, he does his best to fearmonger about fictional threats, but what he is the most stunningly corrupt official to face criminal charges during the Reagan administration. During this Iran-Contra scandal, Americans basically got their first look at how the National Security Council uses the CIA in actual Black Ops. Now, what happened is the U.S. was using money from the sales of illegal arms and drugs to funnel weapons to rebel fighters in South America, and North was right in the middle of it. This is very similar to Eric Holder and Operation Fast and Furious, so I'm surprised that no one has recently brought this up in any way, shape, or form, but it goes on. he basically kept the diary, and North wrote that he had a fairly good relationship with Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega, who worked with the U.S. intelligence for years before leaving the country. Panama's military intelligence chief had a long-standing ties to drug lord Pablo Escobar, but North actually pitched Ronald Reagan on Noriega's help to help America's covert operations in Nicaragua and provide the administration to help clean up his image. So he even wrote that an extra $1 million, which were taken from illegal profits through the sale of hundreds of missiles to Iran, might help seal the deal. So in other words, he basically planted this entire thing in Reagan's head. And the fact that people think that Reagan wouldn't know, I mean, there may not be a lot, but I think that man was just a little bit more savvy than people really give him credit for. Now, documents revealed that North and Noriega discussed setting up a commando training camp in Panama where Nicaraguans and Afghan rebels, who would later become Al-Qaeda, could train for military-style operations. There we go. This is what I was talking about. The United States trains its enemies for the future. And Noriega was later convicted in the U.S. of racketeering and drug trafficking. Now he's currently in Panama, but he spent time in French and American prisons. Now during the investigation into Iran-Contra, evidence surfaced that North and the National Security Council were aware that drug running channels were being used to funnel weapons from the United States into Nicaragua, and some hints emerged that President Reagan possibly knew too. Now, 2 agents from the DEA testified that North wanted to take $1.5 million in cartel bribe money and give it to the Nicaraguans, and North convinced Reagan officials to intercept the deal for drug-running Honduran generals who helped the Nicaraguans before. So basically, he used the CIA and Black Ops to help out this deal. Now, General Jose Buesa Rosa had planned to fund the assassination of the president of Honduras with a $40 million sale of cocaine in the United States, but that was later credited to the Justice Department with hatching the most significant case of narco-terrorism yet discovered. And in spite of all this, Reagan officials, led by North, were able to get Rosa's eventual jail sentence toned down to 5 years in a Florida prison. So with all of this information, it's basically the United States government protecting the rich in every way, shape, and form. Now, North got 7 felonies, and he was convicted on 3 relating to actions that he undertook to cover up the scandal. And he saw those convictions overturned on technicality. As I said, the ACLU basically argued that witnesses against him, many of them were convicted felons, may have been unduly prejudiced by his earlier testimony that a congressional committee had deemed to be immune from prosecution, and a judge agreed. So he should have probably served time. He did not. And I guess the ACLU felt, okay, he got everything that they wanted. He was a convicted felon, but he didn't serve any jail time. And what did he do after all of this? He wrote several books. He appears on Fox News as a conservative political commentator. Basically, his involvement with Call of Duty really isn't unexpected, but to me, having him as part of Black Ops, it just shows exactly what Call of Duty is all about. It's a propagandized game. It's supposedly fictional, but in the end, you're driving this drivel, you're driving this nonsense into people's heads, which is actually going to have some kind of an effect. Don't tell me that they're not going to have some kind of no effect at all. Of course, there are smart people out there that are going to sit here and understand the the tones here. You're making Anonymous a hacker group that is basically going to, for the most part, hack into like defense networks and defense terrorism. You have Robert Mueller, who is saying that Anonymous are now domestic terrorists who need to be punished with through all the laws. You have so many things that are being linked up, effectively stating that anybody who has anything to do with Anonymous is going to be, they need to be wiped out. And this game has basically turned into a propagandized game that effectively tries to vilify the type of people that we probably need to sit here and figure out, hack into like Stratford, similar to, you know, like at the FBI before that, where the FBI actually was hacked during COINTELPRO. And to sit here and say that somehow Anonymous, who is fighting for freedom in a specific way, and I don't have to condone all their actions, but I understand at the very least what they're trying to do, which is expose not the problems of our infrastructure, but the problems of injustice, such as Bradley Manning, such as William Binney, such as seeing documents that need to be brought to light through WikiLeaks or whatever, or seeing what happens with Stratford. So for me, having Oliver North here is just a downright travesty. This is probably a game series that I won't be picking up anytime soon. It tells a certain narrative, it tells a certain story, and yet it looks to me that these type of games, the ones that sell the most, like Halo and here Call of Duty, with these fictional characters, just really don't appeal to me in regards to how they treat current political statements that those deem. They don't treat these type of issues with the respect that they deserve. That's just my opinion. If you have anything you want to add to it, feel free to do so at the bottom. I'll be glad to sit down and answer any questions about this, because to me it's absolutely ridiculous to have a convicted felon like Oliver North selling games and selling Black Ops pieces as if this is one of the most coolest things in the world.